All right, we are back here on the Just End the Suffering podcast doing some NBA over-unders here, as is tradition on the podcast. Joining me today to do it again, one of my co-hosts over the Sky Guys podcast, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. Very excited for this little yearly tradition we got going on, and let's do it.
Yeah, new tradition. This is our second year doing NBA over-unders.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so before we get to the over-unders here, what do you think about the offseason here? What sort of takeaways do you have from what happened with all the big player movement?
I guess the biggest move was Damian Lillard, right?
Yeah, I'd
That
say
was big.
Lillard, and then it's spawned Drew Holiday after that.
Yeah, that was a big move. Let's see if it impacts one of our over-unders. And I think we're in a situation right now where the league is in a really good spot in that there's like 11 teams, 9 teams that can win the title, and that's great. And then I think that Denver is like so good that they're on top of the world right now, and I want to see if someone can dethrone them. And I feel like they're so good they should win again. But then at the same time, there's so many good teams. I'm like, well, who's to say this team can't win? Who's to say this team can't win? Even though Denver's so great. So I'm really excited for the season.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I think the Nuggets winning for me was last year was great because it showed that like you do not have to go buy a team of stars to win it all. That you can build a team like naturally through drafting well, identifying and developing talent, and like making the right free agent move. I think that's a good sign for the league.
It is. It is. And it also is. You're right. You don't have to go and buy the team, but we've learned in the past that that does work too. So there's multiple ways of going about it, which makes it even better. It's not like everyone's going to build through the draft, and it's not like everyone's going to buy players. There's multiple ways of doing it. You want to go and buy a team, sometimes that works. The Lakers won. You want to go and build your team through the draft, sometimes that works. The Nuggets and the Bucks won. Like you can do it multiple ways.
Sure, it can here, and we're gonna reset how we did last year. And I think we had 8 picks combined. We do 2 overs, 2 unders. We did pretty well. Went combined 7-1.
I know, and I put them. I bet all of them individually. Obviously, won 7, lost 1, and I put them all in a parlay too. And
So close. Yeah, so
yep.
we'll go with Nick's picks first. What he did last year. He had the Bucks over 52.5 wins. They hit. He had the Lakers under 45.5. That was close at the end. The Lakers got hot, but they made it here. The one killer here is Cade Cunningham getting hurt. The Pistons went way under the 29.5.
Yep.
And then they had the Chicago Bulls under 41.5. So 3-1 for Nick last year. So it's good year.
Yeah, I was very excited about all those picks, and if the Pistons really once Cade got hurt, they tanked hard, and then I feel so bad they didn't not only did they not get the first pick, they didn't get the second pick, they didn't get the third pick, they didn't get the fourth pick, they got so screwed.
They got the 5th pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had to get one of the Thompson brothers instead of one of the real prizes at the top of the draft.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be.
Yep. So to go ahead here, I'll share my picks from last year where I had a good feel of it. Last year, I went 4-0. I had the Nuggets over 49.5 wins. Obviously, went on to win the title. I had the Nets under 50.5, and they broke the super team up. Knicks over 37.5. They beat that by almost 10. And they had the Clippers under 52.5, and they had some injury issues with Kawhi and Paul George. So 4-0 there. So if you bet our picks last year, you did pretty well.
Yeah, and that I did.
Yep. So maybe people listening, you should do this more often.
That's right.
All right, so let's go ahead here. We're gonna do 2 overs, 2 unders just like last year. So since you got the one wrong last year, I'll let you go first this year. So what do you want to do? Let's alternate after that.
Okay, so I will go first, and I'm going to take, and I want to make. Hopefully, we have the same lines here. I took my lines from FanDuel, but
I did the same as
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go over on the Orlando Magic. The Magic over under is at 37.5. They won 34 games last year with a team of players who are all born after the year 2000. They're just a year older now, a year more experienced. And I think they can shatter this over under. I think they can potentially win like 40 something games, like 44, 43 games. So I'm very, very confident in this one. And this was my number 1 pick. And I think by the way you reacted, you had it too.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Like I like this pick a lot here. I see the same thing, seeing it's a young team coming together, and they started off terribly last year, and then they got really hot down. They played basically 500 ball, I think, from like January on.
Yeah, and they weren't even that bad last year. They finished. I mean, they were finished 34-48, which is it's not good, but it's not awful. Like they were not in. They were in the lottery, sure, but like they weren't in the conversation for that first pick. Like so, they're not a terrible team. And I mean, look, Paolo's looking for his second season, and he's going to look to really build on the first one. And he was spectacular in the first season. So we'll see how he develops.
Yep. So that's the first pick on the board here. I'm going to go now. My first, I'm going to take an over as well. I'm going to stay local again. I'm going to go over on the Brooklyn Nets, over 37.5 wins. Because I feel like yes, I know the super team is gone. I do like some of the pieces they have there. I think Mikal Bridges is going to be a star. I think they have a lot of good complementary wings. Cam Johnson. They have Nick Claxton down low. They have some interesting guards like Dinwiddie. They have a lot of fun pieces sort of grilled together here. I think this is not a great roster, but at the same time, this is not a roster that's going to be like a 36-win dumpster fire. I feel like they're going to be in the around 40 fighting for a play-in spot. So I'm going to take the Nets over.
I like it. They're very scrappy.
Yeah.
Very scrappy team, and I like it.
They are a very scrappy team. I feel like now you're at a point with the Nets where like I think people are now like too low on the Nets. I think now it's time you want to buy in on them.
I like it. I think it's a great pick. It is not one of my picks, but I like it a lot.
All right, so we're going to your next pick.
So I'll go to an under now, or should I just stick with all the overs and we go to all the unders? Might be a little easier that way.
Whatever you want to do.
But let's do that. I'm gonna go with my second over, then you do your second over. That way it's easier to follow for the listener. So my next over is I'm gonna go with the Oklahoma City Thunder over 44.5. And I mean the Thunder are in a situation where they went 40-42 last year. You are another year of SGA where he's just he was first team all NBA last year. People do not give this guy the credit he deserves. I feel like if people like him, sure. No one talks about him being one of the best players in the league, and I think he is. And it's almost like they had one of the first picks in the draft too, because they ended up with Chet also. So this team's gonna come together another year, getting another year of experience. Chet getting in there now, and it's like, wait a second, all of a sudden, it's like this was a young team that just got a little bit older, a little bit better, and they just got another rookie in quotes, who seems like he could be something special too, especially if he packed on a couple pounds.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot here because I mean the Thunder had the big leap last year. They actually made the play-in turn. They didn't actually get through to the first round of the playoffs here, but I think they have passed the point where they're actively tanking and trying to get better draft picks. Now they're trying to take a step forward. They have so much young talent. I think it'll be fun to see it come together. I think this could be a team that's like fighting for the top 6 by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, and it can't be overstated how good SGA is. This guy averaged 31 points a game last year on 51% shooting. That's unreal.
Really good.
Yeah.
All right, so your overs are on the board. I'll go add my last over here. Well, I'm going to take the Cleveland Cavaliers over 50.5 wins here. And I feel like this is a team that still wants to prove something in the regular season. They won around this whole last year, but they did fix their big weakness in terms of not having enough perimeter shooting. They bring in George Niang. They bring in Max Strus from the Heat. They had issues against the Knicks in the playoffs. The Knicks are basically leaving Isaac Okoro and Seti Osman open in the corner and collapsing on the post. I think having these wings is going to help out a lot in terms of spacing the floor. I think this team has a bar clear. I think there's room for Darius Garland to grow. I like the way the Cavs are playing. I think they are going to hit the over on this. I think they're going to try hard in the regular season. So I'll go over 50.5.
I'm with you completely. It's not obviously not one of my picks. I gave you both my picks, but love it. I love both your picks. I think they're great. They're both on my radar. The only team that there's one team that was completely on my radar that I did, and none of us said as an over, was Indiana. I don't have the number in front of me. I'm not sure if you do.
Wasn't it like around like 39.5, somewhere around there?
I think it was, and I think they're a good team. I think that, I mean, they're not a good team. They were 35-47 last year. Not a good team, but they're another one of those teams that has a young upcoming quote unquote star with Tyrese Halliburton, who I think can make the next step. The thing that held me back from taking them is if they don't start hot, they're definitely trading Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, whereas if you're going to lose him, I actually think they're going to trade him to like a team like Orlando. That's kind of why I picked them. Another way, I think they could be a team that if they're doing well would bring in somebody else to help them do well. But Indiana, I think, is going to take it. Hopefully, will take a step forward, but not one of my picks.
Yeah, I also had the Knicks in consideration for me again on the over because I know Thibodeau values the regular season more than most coaches do, but the number 47.5 feels about right. So that's why I didn't touch it.
It's odd if you think about it because, wait, I'm sorry, you said 47.5?
That's why I have my list.
Okay, so let me just see real quick. 1 second. Give me 1 second. So the Knicks, What I find odd is, so I actually saw the number at 45.5, but if you see 47, that's fine. But no, not a huge difference. They won 47 last year, and I think they got better. And
Yeah.
then the conference didn't really get better. So you would think they'd win more. So I would think they'd finish more. But then again, 10 years ago, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
10 years ago, when the Knicks made it to the conference semis and lost to Indiana the next season, I was like, you got to take the over on the Knicks. And then they were terrible. So,
I think that people are not valuing enough of the Knicks is that they have a lot of roster continuity here. But basically, the only thing they changed really the rotation was they swapped out Obi Toppin, Dante DiVincenzo. I think in an East where the Bucks got Lillard, the Celtics sent out a bunch of guys, then brought in Drew Holiday. The Heat didn't get a guy like Lillard here. They lost Strus and Vincent. The Sixers are in a mess right now trying to get rid of James Harden here. The Knicks basically kept it together. I think that serves them well.
yeah.
All right, so let's start the under section. You want to take your first under?
Sure, I will. My first under is going to be a team that I took an over for last year, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. That's coming in at 53.5. Last year, my reasoning for having the Bucks where I did was I felt that the Bucks were pissed off and they were going to win the quote unquote, I used this exact term last year, the President's Trophy, which they give in hockey the best record to of the basketball world. They were going to be that team that was going to win the most games because they were hungry and pissed off. They are, and they were rather, and they did win the President's Trophy, if you will, in basketball last year, like I said. But I think they got a bad taste in their mouth and they lost in the playoffs. And I think this is a team that has a new coach, they have a new star player, that it's going to take some time for them to mold. And I think they're not concerned in the regular season anymore after what happened last year with their going all out in the regular season type thing, like pissed off all season. We're going to show you. I think they realize it didn't work. So I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back in the regular season, focus on the playoffs, and try to get back to where they belong, which, let's be honest, they're one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the best players in the world. They should be the favorites in the East, right?
Yeah. I mean, between the injury issues they had last year with Giannis in the playoffs, the Chris Middleton missing a bunch of time here, I could see them saying, like, does it really matter if we're like the first seed or the fourth seed or the sixth seed? Like, as long as we avoid the play, I don't think they care.
Right. I don't think they'd end up as like a six. I think they'll finish in the top three at somewhere. But I see your point. Yeah, it's like, do we need to be the number one seed in the league? It's not a huge deal.
Yeah, it really isn't here. So I'll go up now with one of my unders here, and I think I'm going to take one of the heavy favorites to win it all, in my opinion, and set them as an under here. Phoenix under 52.5. I think for me, this is a very obvious under because you have obviously you're trying to integrate Bradley Beal into the team. I question the depth on the roster here. Kevin Durant is not staying healthy the whole season. You know that he's going to miss at least like 15 games in the course of this year. They're going to play the low management game to keep some of these guys fresh. Like they're a team where they say, like we don't have to win 60 games to get our goal done. We're going to win 49. We're going to get in the playoffs and be a 5 seed and like try and win the West like we did last year, like the route we are going to take last year. I think that's the way I view Phoenix.
I like the pick. It's not one of my choices, but I like it. I think it's a good pick. They're, like you said, like it's not a question anymore of like, oh, is Durant going to get hurt? He is going to get hurt. We know he's going to get hurt.
Yeah. We know he's going to get hurt. We know he's going to miss time. And like
Right.
the team that cares more about like the regular season does not matter, right? Our goal is to win the championship. Plus, like,
Right. And it comes down to, is he going to miss 15 games or is he going to miss 50 games?
yeah. Plus, don't forget the swap of DeAndre Ayton for Nurkic at center. I think is also a big downgrade in that department as well in terms of the health.
It's a downgrade in terms of the talent, obviously, and whatnot, but I think it's an upgrade in terms of the locker room presence.
Yeah, I think the worry about him was more if how much he's staying on the court. He had a lot of injury issues in Portland.
Yeah, it's just that idea of like Ayton is the kind of guy who feels, because he was a number one pick, I need the ball, I need the, and it's like we there's only one ball. We can't have you and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and everyone needs the ball. And this team has no depth, not to mention.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's why I could see like they're just nice. They just like punt that night and say, okay, we're not going to try as hard tonight.
Right. I can see that, and I can see them. I can see this team winning it all. I could, but I don't see them winning over the amount of game. Over the 52.5, 53.5.
2.5 I had.
Yeah, I can see them winning 50. They win 50 games. It's a great season, and it's under.
Yep. So last pick for you, last under. What are you doing?
I'm going with the Clippers. The Clippers, like this is year 5 of the experiment now. at some point, admit it didn't work. Like Kawhi Leonard at this point has been on this team for 5 years. Paul George, 5 years. What do they have to show for it? 2 second-round playoff appearances. Not one season over 50 wins. Not to say they're not protect. Their over under is I think it's 45 and a half. I
That's what I
have.
had. Yep, that's what I
So
had.
45 and a half, they won 44 last year. I guess the idea is, well, if Kawhi's healthy and he actually plays, they'll win more games. He's not going to be. He's not going to play. They're going to do load management. And you know what? At what point is Paul George going to start slowing down? The guy's 33 years old now. When Kobe was 30 years old, everyone said he was going to start slowing down. It didn't really happen until he was like 34 or 35. But when is Paul George going to slow down? Kawhi's already at like 32 years old now. This is not a young team anymore. I'll look it up. I think the Clippers, I'm going to say at the top of my head, I think the Clippers are the oldest team in the league.
It's gotta be close.
I will get the average age of all NBA teams, and I will let you know. But you can go on with yours.
Yeah, I do think I like that pick. They were under I took last year because again, this is like injury issues with Kawhi and Paul George. They both missed a lot of time here. This is a team that again looks at the playoffs as the more important thing here. They're gonna give Kawhi his load management days. They give Paul George his load management days. There are gonna be days where they don't play either of them because they want to make sure they're both healthy for the playoffs. So I think that's a great pick.
They are the second oldest team in the league behind Golden State.
Yep, and that actually brings me to my pick here for the last one here. I'm taking Golden State under 47 and a half here because I don't love the Chris Paul move. I do not think it's a great basketball fit. I get what they're trying to do in terms of, hey, like we can't kill Steph's legs because Steph has does so much for us, and like Chris Paul will take some of the ball responsibility out of him. But I feel like the fit's very awkward because they're both very ball dominant. You can't play on the court together, so it's really one or the other, which I don't think helps you in closing lineup situations here. Klay Thompson has not really bounced back well from the was it the ACL, the Achilles he hurt a couple of years ago?
From everything, his entire leg.
His entire leg is hurt. They brought Draymond back. Draymond showing signs of decline last year. I mean, the group feels thinner. Like the young kids they brought in have not really clicked in terms of what they're trying to do for this roster here. I think it's a team that I think is going to look at, they were close to the play-in tournament. I think 2 years. They were in the play-in tournament 2 years ago. Last year they were barely in the playoffs before they lost before they beat the Kings, got smoked in the second round. So I think this could be I think we're seeing a slow decline phase for Golden State. I think they'll be pushing. It's gonna be hard for them to get to the 6 this year. I think I'm gonna take the Warriors on the under.
I like the pick. I think that they're yeah, I think I agree. They're on the decline. I can see it possible though. Like you're saying, oh, Steph needs the ball, but I've never seen him in a role where he doesn't have the ball, and it might work.
Yeah.
So that remains to be seen on whether or not that's going to work. It might work. We've never seen him as an off-ball like shooter kind of guy, like a spot shooter in the corner. Like I'd imagine he'd be the best at that, just like he's the best at taking any other three. So we'll see if it works. But I still think either way, they're falling under. They're getting old. They're the oldest team in the league.
Yeah, the oldest team in the league, and like they're a team that like they've won so much that they know like that the 82 game regular season does not mean a lot to them. Like they're gonna just make sure that they are.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're worried if they're in the play-in tournament. Say, we can win 2 games. We have to.
Right. I agree.
All right. So to reset the picks here for the
Well, I have an honorable mention before you reset.
on the unders.
Yeah. My honorable mention on the unders is the opposite of what I did last year. I took the Pistons on the over. Their over under is 27 and a half. They won 17 games last year. That's an 11 game increase for them to hit that over under. Now you're going to have a healthy Cade, but is that worth 11 games?
Yeah, it's a fair question.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it could have just been their tanking and he was hurt, and we'll see. But I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I had 2 other honorable mentions here. I have the Sixers at under 47 and a half. I think the James Harden thing is to be such a mess for them. And like the longer it takes them to trade him, the more it distracts their season. I think that they could be at a point where like they're either doesn't show up or he's showing up out of shape like he did to keep the Rockets a few years ago. That could be a problem here.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And for another reason as well, at what point are we going to see, because I think we're going to see it, where Joel Embiid just says, I'm done?
I think the Knicks are waiting for that.
I think Joel Embiid is going to, now it's a lot easier said than done getting a package that's worthwhile for Joel Embiid. He's literally the defending MVP.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to trade him, to get, it's not easy to trade for him. But I think at some point, I'm done is a very likely thing for him.
Yeah, I think that's what the Knicks are counting on too. I mean, they're still hoarding all their assets. They still have movable contracts. Evan Fournier's still there. I think they're sitting there waiting for like the okay, Embiid say I'm out and like go ahead and like just swoop in with all their assets and picks and young players and just make a godfather offer for him.
Maybe the Lakers go in and grab him, huh?
Yeah, I don't think they have near as many assets as the Knicks do.
Nope. They do have that they do have that D'Angelo Russell contract that is, put me in quotes, Mike. D'Angelo Russell is not on the Lakers after the trade deadline.
Yeah, yeah. I think if any Embiid trade happened in season, Mitch Robinson's going the other way in that deal. Like his contract's getting moved.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so the other one I had potential under here is the Spurs at 28.5, just because like I need to see Wemby stay healthy for a whole season before I commit to a number.
Yeah, agreed. If he goes down, I mean they might win 9 games.
He goes down, I might just commit. Say, okay, we'll just tank again. Get
Yeah.
somebody else to go with him. Go with Wemby.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Yeah. So to reset the picks here for the over unders for the year, Nick is going with the Orlando Magic over 37.5, the Oklahoma City Thunder over 44.5, Milwaukee Bucks under 53.5, and the Los Angeles Clippers under 45.5. So I think those good value picks are all around.
Thank you. It's interesting. None of us had any picks that we disagreed with.
Yep. My picks, the Nets over 37.5, the Cavs over 50.5, Phoenix under 52.5, and Golden State under 47.5. So I think, like you, I'm going to play all 8 of these after the podcast is over.
So let me ask you this: if you have Phoenix and you have Golden State under, do you think the Lakers can win the division, or do you think it's the Kings division?
I think people are sleeping on the Kings again.
Yeah, I mean the Kings are a good team. They had to play some defense, but they had the best offense in the league last year, and I think they had one of the worst defenses in the league. But they gotta fix that. The Lakers are an interesting story because they're not going to stay healthy, but if they do, they built themselves a very good team there. But it's just too many injuries with them all the time. So I think their number is perfect where it is. It's at 46.5. It's like perfect.
It's like for me, I feel like the Kings are a team that's going to care about the regular season. I think they're going to try and prove it's not a fluke. So I think they're going to go all out, try and win that division.
Agreed. The Lakers number at 46.5 is like, if you ask me how many games do you think the Lakers will win, I'm like, like 46 or 47, which is like a perfect number for them.
Yep. So go ahead here, Nick. Thanks for all the time coming on. I really appreciate it. Also want to give a shout out to the Sky Guys podcast. We got a lot of fun over there. We did an AMA episode.
We did. We had a lot of fun, and you can catch it by searching the Sky Guys podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, or maybe you link it. I don't know. Do you link it?
Yeah, I mentioned at the end of the podcast how to subscribe to it as well. So I'll put the link in the show notes of how to subscribe to Sky Guys. You want to do that as well.
Sure.